Good morning, everyone. I know I'm just a hair late. Meh. I'm sorry. I'm usually very, very, very punctual, but this morning got away from me, and I had some tech problems, so we're a little behind the times today. Boop, 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 boop. Let me make sure that I am streaming with everyone. Good morning, all my friends. It's so good to see all of you here today. My method of the way that I handle my Twitch streams is going to change just a hair today, because of the fact that we have to have some time in between our activity today. And instead of us just waiting here and twiddling our thumbs, that's where I'm going to share all of my fun notes with you guys that I usually have about what we are doing today. But now that I finally have myself set up, I'm sorry, I usually have this way done before I even talk to you guys in the morning, but for some reason I was feeling extra sleepy today, so that had happened. And you're seeing my lovely back of my phone and all of my internals right now. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to SEEcrets, or Invisible Ink with the 2-Bit Circus Foundation this morning on this lovely Wednesday. My name is Kate, as always, and today I'll be showing you how to make, some fun stuff with this invisible ink that we're gonna go do today. Yes, I'm so excited because I love Spies and I love linguistics, which is a fancy word of saying languages. And I'm really excited that I get the opportunity to nerd out and have fun with all of you here today. So what am I going to be doing? So what I'm going to be doing is teaching you guys how to make your own invisible ink at home. And this was actually one of, not the first, but one of the first ways that humans explored citrus and invisible ink in general. There's a lot of different ways that we created invisible ink, which I didn't know until I was doing my research for this, so I can't wait to share that with all of you, because it's super fascinating and very cool. And I just realized, because I'm so excited, I am speaking extremely quickly, so I will slow down for myself. As I said, we are learning how to create our own invisible ink projects, and this is on our lovely playbook that you can find on our website, which is www.2bitcircus.org. Our project playbook is on there, and it is on page 63 in the document, but the actual page in the book is 57. The title of the project is Invisible Ink, and we do suggest this for anybody elementary school and up. This is going to be extremely fun. And as always, because I forgot to say this, thank you to our sponsor Vans for bringing us to you guys from 10 to 11 every day, Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. We are here for you for your hour of playful learning in the morning, because not only are we doing these fun activities, but these activities do have an educational side to all of it, because we're learning bigger concepts. Like for today, for all of my parents watching with your little kiddos, we are going to be exploring physical and chemical changes and the differences between the two. Oh, I'm gonna turn myself down, otherwise you're going to hear me twice. So, what are we going to need today, my friends? Well, today we are going to be needing some lemon juice. I usually have regular lemons, but I just found out that we had cooked with them all, which is absolutely the right way to handle it. So I've got some of this Italian lemon juice. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm pretty sure it'll work the same way. And if it doesn't, if you don't have lemons, I believe nearly any citrus can work. I haven't tried oranges yet, but I think that's what you need. So if you don't have lemons, try a different citrus, like grapefruit or oranges, whatever you have. It does have to be kind of astringent, so try to not get like a weak citrus, more of a intense citrus. So lime might work as well. You're going to need cotton swabs. So I've got little cotton Q-tips here for us to play around with. I had more. I don't know where they are. All right. And you're going to need paper of some kind. So I've got some lovely construction paper here. I'm also going to be trying with a different sort of paper. Oh, good morning and hello everyone. I'm reading all your lovely messages. So in my sketchbook, I'm going to be using one of these pages as well because this paper, the sketch paper, is a little different from the heavyweight cardboard. Cardboard. What am I talking about? Construction paper that I have right here. I don't know if it's going to make a difference when it comes to our invisible ink, but I'm going to try anyways because I'm curious, and there's no reason for me not to try with all of you here. A cutting board. Now, you just need a cutting board to lay your paper on once we start heating it up and writing all of our fun messages so that nothing accidentally melts because you're putting a heat source on it for too long or anything like that. And it's to help the lemon juice from seeping into anything that you are using underneath it. So try to have something in between to catch all those extra liquids, please and thank you. An oven mitt. If you are going to be using an extreme heat source to protect your hands, always please remember that. We love our little digits here and we want to keep them safe. Another thing would be a heat source. I am using my trusty little hairdryer that I've had for forever and ever. So we're gonna see how this works, but I have been warned that with the in the playbook that there is a potential that we might have to wait 30 minutes with this particular heat source, just because it's not producing a lot of extreme heat at a high rate, so it might just take a little longer. So hence why we're doing our activity first today, because it might take 30 minutes for us to see the results of it, and I don't want you guys having to wait that long while we sit here and twiddle our thumbs together. Yes, you can also use a heat gun if you happen to be one of those crafty, savvy cosplay people and you have that in your house. Please feel free to use it. You just need some sort of intense form of heat source, but not open flame, please and thank you, because we're working with paper, and as you know, paper is flammable, so we don't want to use an open flame just in case we catch things on fire, which is not today's goal. Maybe another day, but not today. Or a hot plate. I did see that there is a suggestion for a hot plate, and I'm assuming, using my critical thinking and observation skills, that that is what that cutting board is for. So you don't want to put your paper directly on the hot plate because that might cause it to combust. Yay! So the cutting board might be put something in between the hot plate and the paper itself so that it still transfers heat without fire. Lots of fire talk today. Hello everybody that just joined us. I'm happy to see you all this lovely Wednesday morning. Enough for me. We're gonna get started on this bad puppy. Yeah. So follow me along in your project playbook if you have it. I'm going to be doing 2 iterations for this because I did say I wanted to try 2 different types of paper. So let me just rip out a page of my book. Oh, it's so tragic whenever I do this, but it's okay. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, we did a rip. So, we got our piece of paper here from my regular sketchbook, and that's just a regular piece of printer paper of some kind. If you don't have printer paper, maybe find scraps of paper that you might have laying around from the other activities that we've been doing. Let's see, what color would be easy for you all to see this activity on? Well, let's try yellow. Lello, as my little cousins like to call it, Lello. And as we can all see here, I do have a piece of cardboard that has been lovingly attached to the back of this construction paper. And while I won't need all of this, let's maybe rip it in half so that we are not wasting and we can use the other half to experiment with more words or maybe something else. So, folded, a crease, and then I ripped along it. That's actually a neat trick if you don't already know it, and I'm sure you do because you're all very, very smart friends that I have out there. But if you didn't know, what you can do if you happen to not have scissors with you, you can fold a piece of paper up and push down on its crease a couple times, even try going the other way and folding it and then ripping along that seam. And as you can see, when it's done really well, the seam is pretty tight right there, but as you can see, because we're humans, it's a little bit messy on the sides, but that's okay. No problem with that at all. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, we're going to next dip our cotton swab in some of the lemon juice and use it to write our hidden message. Woo woo! So, because I've got two pieces here, I'm going to write two different things. And because I'm trying not to be wasteful, it's all about trying, I'm going to grab a small little liquid container for myself so that I am not touching the source of the lemon juice onto my cotton swabs, because that is not hygienic. So I'm going to pour a little bit of lemon juice in here. I think that should be enough. We're not going to be writing too much today. Okie dokie. So, cotton swab, my little lemon juice, juicy juice. And I'm going to dip in here, my top of my cotton swab. You do want to make sure it's saturated because you might not have any juice on it. And I'm going to write 2 BCF on this one. 2B. I think I'm going to have to redip. C. Woo. I don't know if it can fit all in one letter, in one space, because I've now overextended myself. Okay. I know you can't see it, and to my naked eye sitting here, I can barely see it. I see a little bit of liquid drops right here and a little bit of the liquid drop right here, but other than that, I have no idea where I wrote any of my letters in here so far. Well, we've done our regular piece of paper, and while I have everything out, let's try the the thicker paper, the construction paper. And I might have hurt myself by trying yellow on yellow, but we're experimenting, so I'm going to try it anyways. So I'm going to move this piece so that I don't write extra things on it. What should I write on my yellow piece of paper, friends? Well, I'm going to try something a little bit more complicated since 2 BCF is only 4 letters. I'm going to try good morning on this yellow. Woo, let's see if it works. Okay, so I've got good so far. I just need to write morning. And making sure my spelling is right. I'm going to attempt to draw a sun. Okay, that's a circle. Let's draw the little rays of sunshine coming out because it's a happy sun. Okay, now on the yellow paper, I don't know if you can see. Oh my goodness, I forgot some light for you guys. No wonder why. I was like, something seems to be a little off right now and I can't quite put my thumb on it. Well, holy moly, it is your light source. You need to see like I can see. Goodness. See, everybody, we all make mistakes from time to time, and it's okay. It's okay. Okay, here we go. This might be a little bit easier for you guys, although you might see it in my lovely camera view. Let's just work with this a little bit, see if I can get the light source a little closer to you without ruining your view. Okay, so this looks like this is just a hair better than where it was before. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, so with this one, because I overly saturated a little bit, you can see a little bit of the M and the G and our little sunshine friend and a little bit of the I and the N right here. But for the rest of it, it looks like it's pretty much gone, right? Which is super cool. And I'm going to bring back my white piece of paper. And this one, essentially, besides this little watermark that you see here, the C, my handwriting is gone on here too. So what we do next, we're going to let the lemon juice dry on the page. So that is important first. We are going to let these dry a little bit because we want all of the lemon juice to saturate into the paper. Oh, hello, Smitas. Good morning, good morning. I don't know when you said hello to me, but hello, hello back. See, so you can see this is still a little wet, so we're going to wait for that to dry. But you can see the rest of the message is dry, and it looks like a perfectly plain piece of blank paper. If I didn't know any better, I would assume that there's nothing on it. Same here for our lovely good morning sign with our sunshine. So once we wait for those to get done, I'm going to actually plug in my heat source away from us because I don't want you to have to hear my hairdryer for the next 30 minutes. That's a really long time. So let me see where I can plug this in so that I do not disturb us. So I'm going to take my whole setup right here and walk it over to my heat source. Okay, sorry for leaving you all there for just a second, but I set up a little area where my pieces of paper are propped up against the wall, and I have my hair dryer on medium, not high heat, just because I'm a little worried and I'm leaving it alone. Boop! Where was I? Whoop! Sometimes my thoughts just kind of disappear. So I wanted to make sure that it was away from anything that might catch on fire. So it's all around items that do not conduct heat. It is propped up in a way where the heat source is blowing directly on it. And we will check on it in a little bit. And we'll see when our secret message is visible. It does say that the next direction in our playbook says that you may need to leave it for half an hour, depending on your heat source. Your secret message will then be visible. Yay! So we're going to wait now and be patient because this is actually a part of experimentation too. Sometimes when we think of experiments and ideas that we have, they will take, sometimes the process takes a long time. Sometimes we have to be patient and wait for our results. And that is absolutely okay. And it's okay to know that you're the kind of person that, you know, maybe waiting isn't your favorite thing. So we are practicing it now all together, and we can find things to do with ourselves in the meantime to pass the time a little easier. So I do see that the current time is 10:19, so we will check on it in maybe 10 minutes at 10:29 and then again a little later. But we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of it all. Why are we doing this today? What am I trying to teach you? I mean, besides the fact that we get to write really fun secret messages to each other, which I'm going to be implementing with some of my best friends soon because I really like this idea. And it's very simple because I had all of these items laying around my house. Q-tips from the bathroom, lemon juice from the kitchen, paper for my crafting, even paper from my printer. You can find all sorts of different things that you can use around your house. We don't ever have to go out to buy brand new stuff or specific things to work through it. But the science behind what is happening right now, and we're waiting, is we're exploring today the difference between a chemical change and a physical change. So instead of just speaking, because I know that can be very, very boring, it has been for me in the past, I'm going to draw because I am somebody who is a visual learner, which means that I learn a little better when I see pictures and I get to see things happening. I'm also a tactical learner. Tactical means that I like to learn by touching and actually doing things. So I'm not exactly the best when I just read something off of a page. I actually understand it more and can understand it to the level that I need to when I draw, see it in action, or do the experiment myself. Now, parents, you can explore with your child at home what type of learner are they. Are they auditory? Are they verbal? Are they visual? Are they tactical? And once you figure that out, you can find different ways to explain the information in a way that makes the most sense to your child. As educators, sometimes we forget that not everybody learns the same way, but here at the 2-Bit Circus Foundation, we do keep in mind the fact that everybody is a little different, and that some ideas in the past that we had about learning disabilities and stuff like that, we just actually need to take the time and understand that everybody learns differently, and that is okay. So, we're going to be talking about chemical versus, and I'm going to put it on a different page, physical change. Well, let's go all through the physical changes that we see in items, because physical is a little bit easier to explain to you all than chemical first. If we learn this one first, the chemical one makes sense a lot later. Oop. I'm going to push all of my liquids away from technology. That's just a fun little safety tidbit that I like to keep in mind. Whenever there are electronics around, always try to keep your liquids completely out of spill-proof, hands way, so that if you happen to get ecstatic and your hands go like this, stuff doesn't happen by accident, because I've been there, done that. So, physical changes is something that changes within an item without changing the composition of it. That's a lot of words, you guys. I understand it's different. Okay, so for instance, I'm going to show you here for all my visual learners. If I take this extra Q-tip and I break it in half, that's a physical change, because it doesn't look like, oh, I'm so glad I have multiple of these. It doesn't look like the full Q-tip anymore. It now looks like these 2 broken pieces here. But this is still, the 2 broken pieces, this is still fundamentally the same as this full piece right here. It's still a Q-tip, it will still do all the same things, but it's just broken in half and shorter than its original counterpart that's longer. So this is a physical change. Another physical change can be just texture. For instance, if I were to rough up this edge of the Q-tip right here, oops, let me stop juggling so many things in my hands. So I'm roughing up this Q-tip right here, and as you can see, it looks different from its original state. That's a texture change on here. It's still a physical change because we haven't changed the chemical composition of this item. Alright, another one is color. This one's easy peasy to show. Although I say that and I don't have any color around me, which is really weird for me. I always have some sort of color. Okay, so I have a blue pen here, and I'm going to color in this part of the Q-tip right here, so that it has a blue stem instead of its original white stem. And by coloring, I really mean just putting a stripe on it. Looks like pens aren't the most useful when it comes to coloring items. So, I have now colored the stem, and I'm going to ask you guys, because I've given a couple examples now, is this a physical or a chemical change? What is the difference between the 2 pieces that are in my hand? I know there's a bit of a delay, so I'm going to wait for you to say what you need to. So, because I colored the stem, it is no longer its original iteration, right? It's no longer its normal self. Well, this is still a physical change, because while I changed the color of the stick right here, it still hasn't changed the way that this Q-tip works, functions, or what it does. It still has all of its same properties. Another thing could be temperature. Now, if I heat this up, but I don't burn it, hence, keep that in mind. I'm not burning it, just heating it up. If I heat it up and it feels a little warmer to the touch, that's still just a physical change and not a chemical one, because I did put it over a heat source and I haven't burnt it. Another thing is its shape. As you can see, it is looking a little different than its regular size, but still chemically it's all the same. And last but not least, a change of state. Unfortunately, I can't show you a change of state with these, but a physical change of state would be anything that goes from its original state, whether it be a solid, a liquid, or a gas. So remember, the three states of matter is solid, liquid, or gas. And when we change a state of an item from solid, liquid, or gas to another form, most of the time, sometimes, due to a boiling point or a melting point. Boiling means it's getting hotter. Melting means that it's also getting hotter, but in a different way. And changing it from this. So a good example is, my friends, I'm going to draw it here from you. I'm drawing some ice. I'll even put ice about of it so that you know what it is. Oh, Dr. Haynes, I will absolutely tell you how to get the ink to show up. You just need a heat source. I know, it's crazy. It's super simple. Who would know? But I'm going back to my changes of state. So when we look at a regular ice cube, and if you have an ice cube at home, please go grab one. If we take an ice cube and we set it out on a plate, here's my little plate, and we set it out in front of a window, so this is my big window behind my ice on a plate, and there's a sun coming through, and there's some sunshine coming through, and sunshine coming onto the ice, what'll happen, friends? Well, as we all know, that ice will now become a liquid in the plate, and instead what you have is water. So it's changed from ice, its solid state, into water, its liquid state. And it can even change from water, if we heat it up a little more, on its boiling point, the water can turn to a gas, water vapor. Water vapor. A great way to experience water vapor, if you don't know it, and often we can't see it, is a humidifier. So anything that puts a lot of hot steam in your face, you can also see steam coming off of a boiling pot, right? Well, that's water being turned into a gas and escaping. So a change of state from solid, liquid to gas is oftentimes a physical change, because at the end of the day, whether water is in the form of water, ice, or vapor, it's still water. So these are all things that we determine to be physical changes. Now, don't get me wrong, my friends. There are parts of physical changes that bleed over into chemical changes as well. But I'm going to teach you how to see when things change in temperature or states or color, when it is no longer a physical change and it's a chemical change instead. So, to wrap up physical changes, so think of this, physical, right? Which usually means our body. You can think of it in this way. Olivia Newton-John had this wonderful little ditty, and it was called, "Let's Get Physical, Physical." So I just think of it like moving my arms, and that's how physical makes me think of, like, actual body changes. Like nothing changed about me, just I'm moving my body differently. So physical changes are anything changing the physical property of an item. Okay, so physical change is anything changing the physical property of an item. I know I've used a lot of the same words here, but physical properties are what I talked about before. It's color, it's temperature, it's texture, anything here that doesn't change its insides, just the way it looks outside to us. That's a physical change. As I said, there's a lot of crossover between physical and chemical changes. I'm about to tell you what the indicators are for chemical changes, but before we do, I'm going to take a quick little mini break, because it has now been 10 minutes since our secret messages have been sitting by my hairdryer, so I'm going to check it out and test to see if I need to increase the heat or anything. I'll be right back. Okay, so what I noticed about my papers, these are my observations, which is part of our experimentation today. So what I found with my pieces of paper when I looked at them is that they were completely dry, so yay, but the paper wasn't hot enough, and it didn't seem like my hairdryer was doing too much to make the invisible ink actually show up. So I moved my heat source closer to my papers, and I also increased it to its max amount of heat. We are going to see if that makes any changes. And this is absolutely what you're supposed to be doing while you're doing your experiments. You're going to always check back on it and check your progress, and then see if any changes need to be made. Because nobody is perfect. If we're all perfect, then we would go poof out of existence, right, my friends? So it's always okay to go back and try something different or try something more. And I am happy and okay to say that I actually don't know, and that's okay. It's okay to admit that you don't know and to try again. So we have just gone over our physical changes, right? Now we're going to go over chemical changes and what that all means to us. So a chemical change occurs when the substance composition is changed. Woo-wee! Well, weren't we just talking about physical changes? Well, what does a composition mean? Well, composition means that if we were to zoom in on a molecular level and see all these little fun little atoms that make up this particular item. So say that these are the regular sort of atoms that are inside of this property that we have. I'm drawing it for you here because unless you have a microscope, unfortunately, we cannot see things with our naked eye. And we actually can't really see too many atoms with our naked eye either. We always need these super megascopes that can zoom all the way in to a magnifying spot and be able to show us these tiny little things that make up our entire world. And I hope you can still hear me over the hairdryer fan. I do apologize if our sound is a little harder than usual. I will try to speak up. So, a chemical change. Oops, I've been told that sometimes my writing is not showing up. Oopsies. Okay, so I'm going to try with a different color. So my chemical changes, while they may look like this so far, inside, when I haven't changed anything, oops, oh, I'm smudging everything. That's okay. So this is what my chemical structure of my item looks like originally, right? Well, if I were to implement a chemical change that makes a compositional change inside of it, the atoms inside that same structure might end up looking like this instead. And this, from this to this, that would mean a chemical change. That means internally, way, way, way down at the basic principles of this item, it has changed. It is no longer the same at all. So, chemical changes can be alerted to you by a change in temperature, a change in color, odor coming off after the reaction, not an odor originally, after the reaction has happened. Precipitate, which means, or dew, you know, dew on leaves when there's an item, for instance, and it's been out in the morning, when it's outside in the morning, and then you look at it and it's got a layer of condensation, all these little bits of water drawn on it, collected on it. Well, this is precipitate, sorry. And last but not least, bubbles. That's right, my friend, bubbles! But bubbles do not always mean a chemical change. For instance, boiling water has bubbles, right? But boiling water is not a chemical change. No, no, no. It is a physical change because we are not changing the composition of water at all. We're just making it hotter to turn it into a gas. So, as you see here, there are a lot of crossovers in what we said are physical changes too. Temperature, for instance, color, for instance. We didn't have odor, we do now, and bubbles. So how do we know when it is a chemical change versus a physical change when we're making all these observations in our experiments? Well, these things that you observe from your item, these will happen on its own without that direct heat source on it. That's right. If there is not something producing heat, but the element itself is producing heat on its own, that means that there is a chemical change happening inside. The bonds inside of the atoms are broken and new ones are formed. For those of us who are a little bit more advanced, for me to get into this, and for our parents. So a chemical change for my parents out there is when the molecular structure of an atom inside of an item gets broken down and changed into something else. The bonds inside of here, so these little straight lines that you see in between the little circles that are connecting it together, they get broken inside chemically, and then they are new ones are formed to hold on to those little different chemical properties inside, which form different shapes and different properties, which leads to a brand new element. I'm sorry for all my little ears. That was extremely deep, and I used a lot of big words. So I'm going to give you some this or that, and I want you to let me know if it is a physical or a texture change, my friends. So for instance, if I were to put out wooden floor and I were to walk on it every day and check it in 5 years, and I feel it and it's a little bit more rough and worn away, is that a physical change or is that a chemical change, friends? Well, hopefully you've already answered for me, but that is a physical change because of the fact that there's not a new chemical that has been added into that. It's just after years and years of you rubbing your feet against this wood, the texture has changed. So that is a physical change and not a chemical one. Okay. However, let's try to think of a similar... Okay, so for instance, if I were to light a firework, and I'm talking about the firework exploding once the heat source finally reaches all the gunpowder inside, is that a physical or a chemical change? Are fireworks physical or chemical changes? Hopefully you've answered, and it is a chemical change. That's right, because when the fire reaches the gunpowder ignites and it changes into something completely different, and when it explodes in the sky, it has all of these beautiful colors and all of these beautiful shapes and sizes that it can be. So that, my friends, is a chemical change. You can find more instances of this on this website that I'm about to add into the comments below for you. It is super fun, really informative, and I do trust this site for its sources because it is a .org. So hopefully that means somebody has been checking and making sure that their sources are correct. They also have some great fun little illustrations on this website of physical changes. It does show water turning solid, wow, ice turning into water, which is super, super, super cool. And I'm sending you the link now, my friends. And it also has a lovely illustration of how a chemical change happens. So it invites you into the internal life of a piece of iron and how iron oxide happens with iron atoms, and that in turn creates rust. Okay, well, now that I've shown you all and told you a little bit all the science behind it, let's talk about the real fun stuff. Let's talk about actual invisible ink. This is why I'm here. This is why you're here. As you can see, I am super jazzed by this. I'm emphatically talking about it with both of my hands involved. So I'm gonna run over a quick example of, I just got a question. What grades are this lesson geared toward? Well, this lesson, as I said earlier in my stream, is geared towards elementary school and up. So if you have any elementary school little ones, please feel free to participate with them on this. I would say 3rd grade and up, even 2nd grade and up. This is probably good. You probably don't want to do this activity with your kindergartners. They might not understand all the principles behind it. Oh, of course. No. I didn't mean to come off in a negative way. You just joined. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you subscribe and join us again. No, thank you for your question. I sometimes forget not everybody is here, so please don't feel weird that you asked me that question. As I was saying, we are talking about invisible ink now and the history behind it. So I'm going to run by some fun little history tidbits about invisible ink. So one of our early examples of it was from a Roman poet named Ovid. He wrote really elaborate instructions to his partners in Ars Amatoria, which in Latin means the art of love. In the section directed to women, he taught the women how to write in secret, essentially. So they would ask a servant to carry messages in their stockings, or maybe they hid it in their shirt under a wide shawl. They were going to try to use this secret writing, which was common knowledge by 18 BCE, when the book was written. He said that if you wrote your language in fresh milk, it's a great way to hide your messages. Then you touch them with a little bit of powdered charcoal, and you'll be able to read them. So the first ever iteration of it that we know of that's been written down, they were using milk. And yes, you can use milk for secret messages. Another example is Mary, Queen of Scots. She's super famous for her tiff with her cousin Elizabeth I. I'm sure you know a little bit about her. She was a very famous Queen of England. But Mary was convinced to write secret letters using alum, which is hydrated potassium, aluminum sulfate, or nut gall, which was from a very specific type of oak tree. And it's this acid that is secreted in these swellings on the tree. So let me draw the tree, for example, because nut gall is super important. So the tree on it, there are these little parasites that grow these little bumps on the tree. And these bumps on the tree have these tannic acid inside that it secretes. And when you mush that all up together in a mortar and pestle, you can create your own invisible ink from these little pods on the tree called nut gall. And this is actually a very, very, very popular and famous way that people were writing secret messages in. So remember how I said earlier that you didn't have to have a lemon necessarily to make this work? Well, this is an example of that. In 1597, a Jesuit priest named John Gerard came to England in 1588, and he carried a secret mission for the Catholic underground. Before he was caught and put in the Tower of London, he was doing a lot of his work. But then once he was caught, he befriended a prison guard, and he asked them for oranges, which he would use the juice from to write to his fellow supporters. So with the help of a guard, he even communicated one of the other prisoners that were there, and with using orange juice, they were able to take that letter and put it over an open flame, and when you did so, the orange juice lettering would show up and you could read the letters. And that is actually the way that they were able to escape the Tower of London, which is so impressive because of the fact that, if you didn't know, Gerard actually lost all of his fingers because of his torture sessions while he was in the Tower of London. I'm going to skip by a couple of the other ones, but it is super, super fun. I want to bring up an example of actual lemon juice being used. So there was a company called the Lemon Juice Spies during World War I, and they were a group of German agents operating in England. They used citrus, mainly lemons, as their means of communication. And when the British government had stepped up its censorship in letters in wartime, they began to use this process to communicate with each other. English agents were, and this is super cool, so Mabel Beatrice Elliott was able to find 3 of the letters, and when she heated them up, she was able to unmask them as spies. The lemon juice operation was super clumsy because when they caught the German spies, they had lemons on their persons, or pens with pulp still stuck in the nibs, or the nibs had been cut down from the citric acid that it had been in for a while. So they were caught, and in the end, they ended up catching 11 of them and putting them in the Tower of London. And 4 of the 11 that they caught had absolutely used the lemon juice. And this actually, in turn, started the process of the Germans, while using warfare, they started creating new sophisticated invisible ink methods. That's where we get inventions such as the invention that's shown in the Imitation Game, that code breaker of sorts that we find. That is another fascinating story, and I'll have to do another class just based off of Spies because I have such a wealth of knowledge of it, and it's so interesting. If you are in New York and you're joining us from there, and our physical and social distancing, once it is cut, please go explore Spiescape. We are not partnered with them. We are not endorsed by them. I've just been there personally. And if you are interested in spies, Spiescape not only gives you a wealth of historical knowledge about spies, but it also shows you the different tools that they use, and actually that you try them yourselves. And you get to find out what type of spy you would be if you were to follow that sort of path of occupation. Super fascinating. I love it so much. I'm about to add in some other links that I have checked out that have all .org resources about invisible ink into our chat system, if you are interested in more. These are really great articles or sources of information if you are as interested as I am in our history with invisible ink and where we've come from and how we got here. It's just so cool, my friends. They have a great explanation of where we even got the idea to write and code messages like that and how it's developed over the years. But we are almost at our time's end, which I'm super sad about. We only have 10 minutes left. So I am going to check out my experiment and see if we've made any changes. And in the last 5 minutes, I'm going to bring it back to you guys and just see where we are. And if there's any changes later on in the day that I can find with my experiment, I will absolutely send it to our social media team so that worst comes to worst, you'll at least get to see an image of my work on Facebook or Instagram, wherever it may end up at the end of the day. I'm going to take a quick sip of tea. Yes, Shizin Kamai, I am looking forward to it as well because I have been just as blind as you guys because I've been here talking to you all and explaining all this fun stuff that we have. So I'll be right back. Let me go check it out. Oh, come on, Mr. Poseidon. Should we go see it? Oh, no. Okay, friends, as you can hear, or not hear, I have turned off my hairdryer. Oh, we are not kidding when we say this will take a long time, so please, if you are participating in this project, please give it a lot of patience. This is going to teach you a little patience and time right now because I'm not even, I know that my pieces of paper need at least maybe another half hour. because unfortunately when I came back to it, and unknowingly because I have cats, my hairdryer was not aimed on my pieces of paper that entire time because my cats had moved it. But that is okay. Not everything we do is going to work exactly the way we want it to, so we improvise, right? So I was over there just for a few extra seconds so that I could heat up my paper personally. So you can actually see that it's starting to work. It's just not at the point where it typically would be right now. So let me show you the regular paper first. Oh, my light is so bright you cannot see it. Oh, okay. I'm gonna move my light away because you can see it better without it. Okay, so I know I can see it here, but I wonder if you guys can. Can you see that I wrote 2 BCF? You can kind of, right? It's already on its way and its process of coming to fruition. Like my invisible writing is finally coming up. You can see it clearly in the C right here. And to the naked eye, when I look at it, I actually see where the water imprint is. I can see that in my white piece of paper right about here, right at the top of the C. I can see a little bit of imprint. I can see it a bit in the F here and a little bit in the 2 here, but I can tell that it needs a little extra time. But as you can see here, it works. This absolutely works. This just needs some more time. And also, you need to realize that when you put your heat source on your experiment, it's not going to come up black. It's not going to come up like if I were to write 2 BCF with an ink right here. That's not what your writing is going to come out like all. No, because we're using citrus and those sort of elements, it's going to come out this color instead. Okay. This one is going to be a lot harder to explain to you because the quality of my camera does not pick up on the nuances of the naked, like the naked eye does. So this is my construction paper, and as you can see, as of right now, nothing. It looks just like a piece of regular construction paper. Uh-oh. But I can see here with my naked eye that the M is starting to show and the G is starting to show. It was a little bit more prominent earlier, but I can see how the citrus has changed the composition of where it's touched the construction paper, and there's a bit of a texture change when I hold it up to an angle right here, and I know you can't see it because of the quality of the camera, but when I hold it up at an angle and I look at it with my naked eye, I can see that there's a texture change where the lemon is versus where the regular construction paper is. So what did I learn from this? I learned that you need a very, 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 very intense heat source for this to work fast. If you don't want it to work fast, you can, oh yeah, you can see the M a little bit here. If you don't want it to work, if you don't have the tools to make it work super fast, then you have to be super, super patient. And I mean super, super patient. Almost past an hour to get this to work. So this is some would say tedious process. It just takes a long time, and I think it's really cool. I'm starting to reevaluate now though using this method with my friends because not everybody owns a heat gun, and I don't know if my friends can tolerate waiting 2 hours to see my message. So maybe we'll have to think of something else. Maybe a black pen light. That's an easy way to do secret messages now, is that you have this ink pen that has UV black light sensitive liquid in it, and when you write with it, and to the naked eye there's nothing there, but when you shine a black light on it, it immediately shows up with all of your writing. So that is the most modern thing I can think of today that will give you instantaneous invisible letter writing. This is gonna take a while. Same thing with the milk probably, and the lime, because it's the same properties as this paper. Yeah, maybe a heat lamp would work better because a heat lamp's got more intensity. I'm with you, El Gonzalo. I don't have a heat lamp, sadly, so I can't experiment with it. But if any of you do, please do it and let me know, because I'm curious. If I had all the money in the world, I would be experimenting all I can. Sunlight. Yeah, maybe sunlight. I would usually experiment with that, but unfortunately right now I have an overcast day, so my direct sunlight is non-existent. Okay, but we have about 4 minutes left of our stream this morning. Let me go over everything with you all. So today we did invisible ink, and all you needed for that was some Q-tips, some sort of citrus juice. Lemon is my preference because I have it here, but you can use lime or orange, and milk we found out today. Some sort of heat source of some kind. We did find out that with a hairdryer, it's going to take a long time, so probably something a little bit more intense, but we do know that if you put it over a fire, you do run the risk of it catching on fire itself, and then you can't read the message at all. Oops. Yes, and then we learned about physical and chemical changes. We learned that physical changes are about just the physical properties of something. So it's like if I were to cut my hair, while I'm still Kate, my hair is just a little shorter, but it hasn't changed anything about me, right? Me as a person. But if I were to dye my hair, say for instance a bright red, that would be a chemical change because I've used chemicals to change my hair from black to red. That is a color change example of chemical change versus a physical change of color change would be if I were to get a tattoo or if I were to draw on my body. Then that's not changing anything chemically about me, myself, because it is just adding on top of what I already have. But a hair color change would be a chemical change because chemically we are changing what the chemicals inside say that my hair is black, and we're going to change that to red instead. So that's a great example of that. We learned today that invisible ink has been around for a long time, ever since BCE, and people have been using natural ingredients for the longest time to communicate with each other, whether that be from trees, citrus, cows, and nowadays we've moved so far ahead of that we don't use that anymore, and we have these awesome invisible ink pens that we use as gags and gifts for each other. And we learned about the different physical states: solids, liquids, and gas. And how water is a great example of those states of matter changing and it not changing the actual element itself. It's still water at the end of the day, whether it's ice, a liquid, or it's water vapor. So that is a great wrap up to everything that we did today. I hope you had a good time. I know I'm typically your Wednesday lady, but next week I am starting on Tuesday instead. So I will be coming to you live from 10 to 11 Pacific Standard Time every Tuesday instead of every Wednesday. And next week I will be completing, what is it? Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going to do something really art related next week that is super, super exciting. So if you like expressionism and artists such as Salvador Dali and his eclectic lifestyle, we'll be talking more about that next week. But tomorrow we will have much more of the same. Not saying that we're going to be doing this again, but we'll be with a new facilitator. I think we've got the cardboard challenge tomorrow, but I might not be correct, so don't quote me on that. But thank you everybody for watching. I hope you had fun. If you're interested in building this project at home, we do have kits available on our website at www.2bitcircus.org. And to continue to support content like this, please feel free to donate on our website. We always appreciate it. Even $1 goes a long way. And on that note, we also want to thank Vans for their sponsorship and their ability to give us the opportunity to come to you and have some playful learning every morning. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Twitch, Facebook, Instagram. I think we have a Twitter. I'm not sure. I might be lying about that one, but I know we have an Instagram and we have a Facebook. Tune in to our next show tomorrow at 10 a.m. like always. It has been fun, my lovelies. I hope that you all send secret messages to each other during this time. I'll be waiting to see if I have any blank notes laying around and checking to see if they're secret messages from you to me. Have a lovely Wednesday. I hope you are all staying happy, healthy, and safe. And I'll see you next week. Goodbye!